All right. Madam Court Reporter, before I get started, do we need to consent to doing this by Zoom?
I missed the middle part of that. I'm sorry.
Before we get started, do all the parties need to consent to doing the deposition by Zoom?
Yes, sir. I will ask counsel to please state on the record you have no objection to me administering a binding oath to this witness remotely.
No objections.
No objections.
And no objection from the plaintiff.
Thank you. Would you like for me to go ahead and swear him in?
Sure.
Mr. Davis, if you will, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. This is Matt Kahn for the plaintiff, Aaron Altman. This will be the deposition of defendant Edward Davis. The deposition is being taken via Zoom pursuant to notice and agreement of the parties, and the deposition will be taken pursuant to the Civil Practice Act for all purposes allowed under the Act, including use at trial. So good morning, Mr. Davis. I want to first, before we get started, thank you for being here, and just sort of tell you that a deposition is a truth-seeking tool in civil litigation. And so today I'll be asking you questions about the case, and all that we ask is that you tell the truth in response. If you wouldn't mind by starting by stating your full name for the record.
Edward Jerome Davis.
And Mr. Davis, have you ever sat for a deposition before?
No.
Okay. So just, I'm going to go over a few sort of ground rules. I'm sure that you spoke with your lawyer before and he explained what was going on, but basically today we're creating a written record that will be evidence in this case. So I'll be asking questions and then the court reporter will be taking down all of the questions that I ask and all of the answers that you provide. And so just so we can have a clean record, you know, I guess a lot of times, like, I'll ask a question and you'll know exactly where I'm going. But even if that is the case, I'd just request that you wait until the question is completed. If there's anything that I ask that you don't understand or doesn't make sense, just let me know and I'll try to ask it in a different way. Otherwise, I'll assume that you understand all the questions that I ask. From time to time, your lawyer or Mr. Johnson, who's here on behalf of Arch Insurance Company, may make objections. Unless they instruct you not to answer, you're always free and required under the rules to provide a response. So who's your current employer, sir?
Veteran Empowerment Organization.
Okay. And who is your employer on January 5th, 2021?
Taliban.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I don't know his last name. His first name is Tyler.
And Tyler was with Veterans Empowerment Organization at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And so just throughout today, I'm going to refer to Veterans Empowerment Organization of Georgia Incorporated as VEO, just to avoid having to say that mouthful every time. Does that work for you, sir?
Yes.
Okay, great. So before we get into sort of the meat of the deposition, I want to see if you agree with some basic principles, which we'll get into in greater detail as the deposition goes on. So do you agree that you should be safe while operating a commercial motor vehicle?
Object to form.
Join the objection.
So you can answer that question, sir.
Actually, before you answer, do you want us to state the basis for our objections during this deposition, or will a statement of objection to form preserve form objections?
If you could feel free to object in whatever manner you'd like to.
Okay, so we're going to object that the question is vague and ambiguous. It also seeks a legal conclusion from this witness, which is improper.
I join the objection on seeking a legal conclusion with regard to public interest issues of that are for the court to decide and subject to jury charges as contrasted to examination, deposition question.
Okay. So sir, just so if you, do you remember the question that I had asked?
No.
So I'll ask it again for you. Do you agree that you should be do you agree that you should be safe while operating a commercial motor vehicle?
Objective form seeks a legal conclusion. It's argumentative, it's phrase.
Join the objection.
You can answer the question, sir. Sir,
I'm going to instruct him not to answer. So Matt, this is what I'm going to do throughout this deposition. If you start asking him general questions about safety and protecting the community and the rights of people in general that are unrelated to this action, I think that's an improper attempt to make some type of an argument to safety of the society that sometimes colloquially referred to as that. It's an improper argument. So I'm not going to allow him to answer those type of questions in this deposition. I understand that we may disagree about whether you have a right to ask those questions, and I'm okay with going to a judge to get a ruling on that. But I think it's like a reptile theory type question where you're asking him general questions about the community at large and people's rights and safety. And he's not going to testify to that at trial. I'm not going to let him testify to that here at the deposition.
okay. And for the record, I substantively disagree with that. And I'll also note that it's improper to give a speaking objection to the degree that you just did. And to the extent it could be construed as coaching the witness, I'd ask that you stop doing that. So, sir, I'm going to ask the question one more time. And if your counsel instructs you not to answer, then we can address that. But do you agree that
Before you answer the question, Matt, I just want to be clear. The reason why I kind of gave a spoken objection is because I wanted to explain the basis for the objection and really make it clear to you that throughout the course of this deposition, I'm going to be instructing him not to answer that type of question. Going on in the deposition, I'll just simply state the same objection that the question is an improper legal contention and that it seeks an improper testimony from this witness, and I'll leave it at that. But I wanted it to be clear on the record in the event we need to go before a judge, the basis for my instructing this witness not to answer.
Okay, and I'll just remind you, sir, that under the Civil Practice Act, there's only one legitimate ethical reason to instruct a witness not to answer a question, and that's if it's attorney-client privilege or work product. And seeing it is how this is neither of those. This is an unethical and inappropriate instructing of the witness not to answer. And I'll say this: if this continues today, if we don't get an answer for this question, then we're going to pause this deposition. We're going to get the court on the phone right now because this is improper, and we've spent far too long talking about it already today. And this happened at another deposition in this case, and we'll talk about that too if we have to with the court today.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I invited you to call the judge last time. I invited you to file a motion so that we could brief it. You chose not to do that, and my position hasn't changed.
Okay. So, sir, Mr. Davis, do you agree? Do you agree that you should be safe while operating a commercial motor vehicle?
Objective form, same instruction.
Join the objection.
Mr. Davis, are you going to take the advice of your counsel and Arch Insurance Company's counsel and refuse to answer the question?
Yes.
All right. We're going to pause this deposition and get the judge on the phone and get a ruling on this because this is inappropriate, improper, and unethical behavior for deposition.
I don't know if everybody's on mute or not. Just trying to find out what is the process that we're going to go through with regard to contacting the court, and who's doing that, and are we going to be on a joint conference call, or how are we going through that process? Madam Court Reporter, is everybody still online to communicate with each other?
Yes, sir. It looks like, do you not have a video?
Well, I have a video that just has nothing on it other than Ed Davis.
Okay. Yes, sir. Everyone else is here, but everyone is muted.
Okay. Well, how
Hey,
are we?
Mike, and I can hear you. I don't know what Matt's doing. He said he wanted to get the judge on the phone, so I'm assuming that's what he's trying to do right now.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to find out is how are we all going to participate in the call?
Maybe he'll send the judge a link to this deposition. I frankly don't know. That's a question for him, but and maybe he'll get back on and answer that.
All right, everyone. So I just tried to call the court and got the staff attorney, David Abercrombie's voicemail, and just left a voicemail saying that we request a conference call to discuss a discovery issue. I guess it probably makes sense to just continue with the questions, and then if we're able to hear from the court while the deposition is going on, then great. And if not, we'll suspend the deposition and reconvene at a time when we're able to get a ruling on this issue.
Hey, Matt, is the way you set it up with the judge, is that they're going to link in somehow to this Zoom so we're all together, or how's that set up?
So I didn't speak with anybody. I left a voicemail. I suspect that they'll call me back, and what I could do is put them on speakerphone on my desktop phone, and we can, hopefully you'll be able to hear. If not, we can do a separate conference call. But I think that everybody should be able to hear them clearly from my phone, and that way we could get a written transcript of what occurs.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously we can ask questions about the case and save the reptile questions to the end of the deposition, and you can just string them all together, however you want to do it.
Okay, so I think what I'd like to do is just go through my questions as I was going to, and then if you, just to save time, if you want to just object and say same objection each time, same objection, same instruction, we could get through it a lot quicker, I think. And then we could get to it when the judge either calls back or whenever they're available, if that works for everybody.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think that's probably a wise plan, and I suspect that the judge is not going to rule sua sponte from the bench without hearing further, but that may happen. I'd like to plan on just briefing the issue and having a hearing before the judge so we can really flesh it out. And if necessary, I can get answers if the judge deems that to be something he's going to order. But for now, why don't you just ask your questions? I'll instruct and we can move on. Okay.
All right. So, Mr. Davis, do you agree that you should be safe when operating a commercial motor vehicle?
Objective form, same objections as previously noted, and same instruction.
And while I have no authority to issue the instruction, I can join the objection and do so.
Mr. Davis, are you going to act on the advice of counsel and refuse to answer?
Yes.
And he'll be following all my instructions during this deposition.
Okay. Sir, do you agree that as a Georgia driver, you should be familiar with the applicable traffic laws?
Objective form, same objection, same instruction.
Same joinder on objection.
And sir, will you be accepting the advice of counsel and refusing to answer?
Yes.
Are you in fact familiar with the traffic laws in Georgia?
Yes,
Do you consider yourself to be a safe driver?
yes,
Do you agree that safe drivers such as yourself should be attentive while behind the wheel?
yes,
Do you agree that safe drivers such as yourself should look both ways before entering a roadway to check for approaching traffic?
yes,
Do you agree that while making a left-hand turn, you must yield to the right-of-way to an approaching vehicle?
Objective form, same as previously objected. It's a legal conclusion, and I'll let him answer that question.
Same joinder of objection.
You can answer the question, sir.
yes, I did yield.
Do you agree that when entering a roadway, you should make sure that you have a view of approaching traffic before entering the roadway?
Objection, it's vague and ambiguous. It's argumentative and unintelligible as phrase. You can answer, sir.
Yes,
Do you take any responsibility for causing the car wreck that brings us here today?
Objection, instruction not to answer. You're seeking the ultimate conclusion of the jury in a legal contention. That's not appropriate for a deposition.
Sir, do you take any responsibility for causing the car wreck that brings us here today?
Same objection, same instruction. I'm instructing him not to answer that question because it seeks a legal contention and the ultimate question for the jury in this matter.
Are you going to accept the advice of counsel and refuse to answer that question?
yes,
As we sit here today, who do you think was at fault for the car wreck that brings us here today?
The same objection as the previously stated question and same instruction not to answer. Our legal contentions are not subject to deposition questioning of the witness.
Sir, are you going to accept the advice of counsel and refuse to answer that question?
yes,
Okay. How long have you been an employee of VEO?
6 years,
And what's your current job title with VEO?
custodian,
What was your job title as of January 5th, 2021?
custodian,
Have you been a custodian with VEO the entire time that you've been there?
yes,
Before working for VEO, had you ever been employed as a truck driver?
in the Army,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your response.
in the United States Army,
Army, okay. So other than your position with the U.S. Army, had you ever been employed as a truck driver with another entity?
no,
Objective form assumes facts, lacks foundation.
So when were you a truck driver with the U.S. Army?
back in the 70s, 74, 1974,
And 1974 is when you began being a truck driver for the Army?
yes,
And how long were you a truck driver for the U.S. Army?
8 years,
Did you have a CDL at the time you were a truck driver for the Army?
no,
Do you have a CDL now?
no,
Have you ever had a CDL?
no,
Have you ever driven a tractor trailer?
for the Army,
Other than for the U.S. Army, have you ever driven a tractor trailer?
no,
How many times have you driven a tractor trailer in your life?
once for the Army,
And just for clarity, so when you say you drove it once, was this a one time, or are you referring
No.
to?
I mean, in my entire enlistment in the Army,
And during your enlistment with the Army, how frequently did you drive a tractor trailer?
Once, when they had something for me to do.
And how often did you end up operating the tractor trailer?
I did it for a year before Eustis.
How many times each week would you operate a tractor trailer during your time with the Army?
About twice a week.
And so would that be, so you operated a tractor trailer about twice a week for
Yeah,
about for 8 years?
we took turns.
Remember to wait for him to finish your question.
Okay.
Sure. So during your 8 years with the U.S. Army, is it fair to say that you operated a tractor trailer about twice a week during that time?
Yes.
Okay. Before working for VEO, had you ever driven a box truck?
No.
So beginning with your time at VEO through the present, have you ever had to drive a box truck for work?
No.
Beginning with your time at VEO through the present, have you ever driven a box truck?
No.
Well, let me ask you this. How would you describe the vehicle that you were driving at the time of the subject wreck that brings us here today?
I don't understand the question.
So were you driving a box truck on January 5th, 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And were you driving that box truck for your employer, VEO?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the other question one more time. Beginning with your employment at VEO through the present, have you ever driven a box truck for your employer?
No.
Explain to me how that's a no. Let's strike that. So
I don't understand what you're trying to ask me.
well, let me try it a different way. How many times have you driven a box truck on behalf of VEO?
Well, they sent me down to pick up some water, Niagara bottled water company, several times down there, and pick up furniture for like people's houses, stuff like that. Well, for somebody donate some furniture, I go pick it up.
Okay. And how many times have you driven a box truck for VEO to pick up furniture?
Over the years, maybe about 5 or 6.
And how many times have you driven a box truck for VEO to pick up water in your career?
Several times. I can't count the times. I don't know.
Okay. Have you ever had your driver's license suspended for any reason?
No.
Have you ever been arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol?
No.
Have you ever been arrested for driving under the influence of drugs?
No.
Before the wreck, had you ever been charged with speeding?
Once, yes.
And when was that?
I don't remember. I can't recall. It's so many years ago. I don't really know.
Was it more than 10 years from today?
No.
So it was you got a speeding ticket sometime within the past 10 years.
Yes.
Where did you get the speeding ticket?
I can't recall. It's been so long. I don't remember.
Were you driving a personal vehicle or
I was driving my own vehicle.
Was the speeding ticket on an interstate?
Yes,
Do you remember how fast you were going, or you were alleged to have been going?
I was doing 10 miles over speed limit.
And how did you resolve that
I
citation?
paid it.
Okay. Other than that speeding ticket that we just discussed, have you ever gotten a speeding ticket?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. Have you ever been charged with reckless driving?
No,
Before the wreck, had you ever been given any traffic citations other than the speeding ticket that we just discussed?
yes, but I can't remember.
Do you remember the nature of the previous citation?
No,
Was it more than one previous citation?
I can't recall.
So it could have been more than one previous citation?
I can't recall.
Okay. Before the wreck, had you ever been arrested for any drug-related crimes?
No,
Before the wreck, had you ever been in any motor vehicle collisions?
well, someone hit me. I was on the highway. Somebody hit me from behind.
And when was that?
It was about 5 years ago.
Were you in a personal vehicle at the time of
I
this?
was in my own car.
Were you injured in the collision?
My back was.
Did you bring a personal injury claim after the
Yes,
collision?
yes.
And do you know if a lawsuit was filed related to that collision?
Yes.
And what was the resolution? How was that lawsuit resolved?
They paid me some money for my injuries and pain injuries.
Other than this lawsuit that other than the lawsuit we just discussed, have you ever been involved in any other lawsuits excluding this one?
Yes.
What was the nature of that lawsuit?
Someone ran a stop sign and hit my car.
So this was a separate collision from the one that we just
Yes.
talked about. When was that collision?
It's been over 20 years ago.
And were you driving a personal vehicle at the time of that collision?
My own car. Yes, my car.
I think you started to tell me what happened, but would you mind just telling me how that wreck happened?
Just move on to finish the question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, would you just please, sir, tell me how that wreck happened?
I was at a stoplight. I stopped at the stoplight. Now, as I approached the stoplight, a car came flying down the road and ran into me. Ran the stop sign.
And were you injured in that collision?
Yes.
How were you injured?
My neck and my back, I got whiplash.
And you filed a lawsuit related to that collision?
Yes. Yes.
And how was that lawsuit resolved?
They paid some money for my pain and suffering.
So other than the two collisions and lawsuits that we just talked about, have you ever been in another collision, excluding the one that brings us here today?
No.
Okay. And so I know that you served in the U.S. Army. Have you ever served in any other military branches?
No.
Okay. And you were in the U.S. Army for 8 years?
Yes.
Well, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
And so the next question, I'm gonna explain why I'm asking it before I ask it. But if this case goes to trial, we need to make sure that none of your family members are on the jury. And so I'm gonna ask you if you have any family members above the age of 18 that reside in Gwinnett County.
No,
Okay. So I want to ask a few questions about the wreck that brings us here today. Where did your trip begin just before the wreck?
in Atlanta, Georgia.
And where specifically did it begin?
We left here going to Gwinnett County from Atlanta.
Okay, and so you left from VEO to
Yes.
Gwinnett County, and
Yes.
Where in Gwinnett County did you go?
Went to a house to pick up some furniture.
Okay, and did you stop at any time between leaving VEO and getting to the house?
No,
And then what were you doing at the house?
picking up and donated furniture.
Do you remember what furniture you picked up?
It was like chairs and bed lamps, stuff like that.
Okay. And then after leaving the house that you were picking furniture up from, where did you go next?
We head back to the VU. We didn't go nowhere else.
So can you describe to me how you got to the intersection at which the wreck happened?
I drove my truck to the intersection.
Was the house that you were picking furniture up from within the subdivision that you were exiting at the time of the wreck?
Yes, it was in the subdivision, yeah.
Okay. Now, can you just explain how the wreck happened from the time that you pulled up to the stop sign to the wreck?
I was at the stop sign. I looked left, I looked right, with nothing coming. Lonnie told me to turn left.
Hold on a second. Is our court reporter still on the call? I think our court reporter just dropped off the phone.
It looks like you're right.
So don't answer any more of that question. We're gonna have to wait for her. Whatever you say now won't be recorded. I'm just gonna put us on mute until the reporter rejoins.
So I think the last question that I'd asked before the internet cut out was, how did you get to the intersection at which the wreck occurred?
I pulled up to a stop sign.
Okay.
I looked left, I looked right, with nothing coming. Lonnie told me to turn left. I already turned right. He told me to back up and turn left. Well, I looked back behind me, with nothing behind me. So I backed up. I looked left, right again, complete stop. I pulled out in the street. And as soon as I was already in my lane, as soon as I got in the middle of the street, she came flying over the hill and ran to my truck, ran to the back side of my truck.
Okay. Now, before I keep going on, I do have to ask, during the brief interruption, did you have any discussion with Mr. Nelson about the substance of your answer to that question?
Objection to form instruction not to answer. That's attorney-client privilege. But you did remind me of something. The witness wanted to make a correction to his prior testimony on the record. Go ahead and tell him.
The accident, well, they ran to the back of me. I was in another deposition where the law was asking me questions and stuff. This is my second deposition.
Okay. I want to get back to the other question that I had asked. Are you go, so I'd asked you if you had any discussion about the substance of your response with Mr. Nelson.
And the same objection, it seeks to invade the attorney-client privilege. I'm instructing him not to answer.
And I'll just say it for the record, it's improper and unethical to discuss a substantive response during the pendency of not only a deposition, but the pendency of a question. And we will take this issue up with the court if you do instruct your witness not to answer. The attorney-client privilege does not apply to to communications that occurred during the pendency of a question and a deposition. So, Mr. Davis, are you going to take the advice of counsel and refuse to answer that question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I want to ask just a few follow-up questions about the response that you just gave. You mentioned that Lonnie told you to turn left. Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did Lonnie tell you to turn left, if you know?
He told me to turn left. I was turning the wrong way. Right was the wrong way. I was supposed to turn left, not right.
Had you ever been in the area that the wreck happened before this time?
No.
Were you using any GPS device to get back to VEO headquarters?
I put GPS in the device before I took off in the truck.
And can you describe the GPS device that you were using?
On my phone.
Do you have a specific GPS app that you were using?
Yes. Ways.
Were you holding the GPS device at the time of the accident?
No. No.
Where was the phone at the
The
time?
phone's on the dash of the car.
And were you looking at the phone at the time you made the turn?
No, I was listening to the GPS with my ears.
I understand that Lonnie Streeter and Ronald Logan were in the box truck with you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who was immediately next to you in the truck?
Logan.
And so Lonnie Streeter was sitting next to the window, the passenger window?
Yes.
Did Mr. Streeter reach over and touch you to tell you that you were supposed to go left?
No.
What exactly did Mr. Streeter say to you?
He told me to turn left. He told me to turn left.
Okay. Were you talking with Mr. Streeter, or were you talking with Mr. Streeter inside the car before the wreck, seconds before the wreck?
Vegas the time.
All of us in the car before the wreck.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your response?
All of us was in the truck before the wreck.
Okay, were you speaking with anyone else inside the truck within the seconds before the wreck?
Objective form, vague and ambiguous. You can answer.
No.
Did you have the radio on at the time of the wreck?
No. Yes, I did have radio on. Yeah.
What were you listening to?
Music.
Do you remember what type of music you're listening to?
It was a R&B music.
And were you adjusting the radio at any time before the wreck?
No.
Were you smoking a cigarette at the time of the wreck?
I don't smoke.
Was anyone in the car with you smoking a cigarette at the time of the wreck?
No.
At what point did you first see Miss Altman's vehicle?
Vague and ambiguous.
Sir, you can answer that question.
When she hit the truck, that's when I saw her.
So you did not see Miss Altman's vehicle at any time before the collision occurred?
No,
Do you remember what kind of car Miss Altman was driving?
what, a Nissan. I think it was a Nissan, not mistaken.
Excuse me, sorry. All right, I'm gonna share my screen with you if you'll give me just a second. Can you see Plaintiff's Exhibit 13 on your screen?
No,
Can you see what do you see the picture on the screen?
yes,
And you see at the upper right corner it says Plaintiff's Exhibit 13.
yeah,
Okay. Do you see the stop sign in the picture?
yeah, right there.
Let me zoom in for you. You see the stop sign, sir?
Yeah,
Okay. And then you see the road sign that says Brooks Point.
yeah,
Then do you see the right turn lane that leads into the neighborhood?
yeah,
And do you see the solid white line that demarcates the turn lane and then the eastbound lane of travel?
yeah, I see it.
Okay. So on January 5th, 2021, did you stop at the stop sign that we're looking at?
Yes, I always stop at stop signs.
Okay. How long did you stop at that stop sign?
I stopped at stop sign long enough to see what nothing coming.
Do you remember how long you had stopped there?
I've done at least about a couple of minutes or so. And when nothing coming.
And did you look both ways while you were stopped at that stop sign?
Yes, I did. I looked left and I looked right.
Which way did you look first?
I looked left first. Then I looked right when nothing coming.
And then did you look left again before entering?
Yes, I always looked left twice. Sometimes I looked left 3 times.
Did you look left twice on this specific occasion?
Yes,
How many times did you look to the right?
I looked to the right 3 times too. I looked left and right 3 times.
And did you see any cars coming when you looked right on any of
I didn't see nothing coming.
when you looked left, did you see any cars coming at any point?
No, but nothing coming.
Now, did you stop at the solid white line marking the edge of the roadway before you entered the roadway?
I just kept going. I wasn't nothing coming, so I just kept going. Wasn't nothing to come down the road.
So you did not stop at the white line, the solid white line?
No, because wasn't nothing coming.
Hey, Matt, this is Mike Johnson. I'm having trouble I see a dashed white line and you're referring to a solid. I'm just trying to figure out where on this picture you're referring to as a solid white line.
But,
If you could just highlight it for me, that's all I need is just to know where you're referring to.
sure. And with all due respect, I'm not asking you the questions. I'm asking the witness the questions, and he understood the question.
I know, but I'm just trying to understand as a party to this deposition what you're referring to as a solid white line.
We're talking about the solid white line that demarcates the turn lane and the roadway.
All right, the part that you just put the blue highlight over.
We're talking about this whole line. There's a
Okay.
little break in
All
it.
right. Yeah, I'm okay. I just wanted to make sure because I could barely see the stop signs. I was thinking I couldn't see the solid white line you were talking about. All right.
So Mr. Davis, why did you not stop at the white line?
When nothing coming.
Do you think that you should have stopped at that white line?
Yes, but wasn't nothing coming. Wasn't nothing coming when I was out in the road. As soon as I got in the middle of the street, she came over here, hit and ran inside my truck.
Move to strike is non-responsive. Is it fair to say that stopping before crossing that white line would have given you another chance to see if it was safe to enter the roadway?
Objective form, speculation.
You can answer that question, sir. Is it fair to say that stopping at that white line before crossing into the roadway would have given you another chance to see if it was safe to enter the roadway?
Objective form, speculation, lacks foundation, incomplete hypothetical. If you understand the question, Mr. Davis, you can answer it.
I don't understand what he's saying.
So the question is it fair to say that if you had stopped at the white line that we're looking at in Plaintiff's Exhibit 13 before crossing into the roadway, it would have given you another chance to see if it was safe to enter the roadway?
Yeah, if I stopped at white line, yes.
Okay. From the time that you drove past the stop sign that we're looking at in Plaintiff's Exhibit 13 through the wreck, did you apply your brakes at any time?
Big and ambiguous phrase.
Sir, did you understand the question?
Well, why should I hit my brakes when I'm in the middle of the street? When nothing coming.
So then your testimony is that you did not apply the brakes anytime between leaving the stop sign and when the wreck occurred.
Mischaracterizes prior testimony. It's argumentative, it's phrased, and it's vague and ambiguous. He's already testified that he stopped and backed up.
Mr. Nelson, I'm going to have to ask you to stop testifying for your witness and coaching him on how to answer these questions. It's not an appropriate objection. We can add. Let me finish my objection, and then you're free to say whatever you like. But we're going to add this to the laundry list of things that we're going to be discussing with the judge whenever we do have that discussion, and before we conclude the deposition.
That's fine. And my objection is that you're mischaracterizing his testimony because he already told you he pulled forward, stopped, and actually backed up and looked both ways 3 times. Now you're asking if he ever hit the brakes. It's completely inconsistent with what he already told you.
So, sir, it's a simple question, and the question is, from the time that you left the stop sign, let me strike that. From the time that you stopped at the stop sign and looked both ways 3 times, and then entered the roadway through the wreck, did you apply your brakes at any time?
Objective form, mischaracterizes prior testimony, lacks foundation. You can answer.
Why should I apply my brake when I'm in the middle of the street?
Okay.
There's no reason to apply the brakes.
Is there anything that you could have done differently to avoid the wreck?
No.
And you're denying responsibility for this collision, correct?
Objective form, This question seeks the ultimate question for the jury. It is a legal contention question and proper for a witness at a deposition. I'm instructing the witness not to answer.
And I'll say just for the record that this is a completely proper question, one that is asked during every deposition and will be asked at trial. And it is an appropriate question. So, sir, the question was, you're denying any responsibility for this collision, correct?
Same objection and same instruction. Don't answer the question.
Sir, are you gonna take the advice of counsel and refuse to answer this question?
Yes.
Okay, let me share my screen with you real quick. Can you see plaintiff's exhibit 9 on your screen?
Yes.
And you see the title of the document, Edward Davis's objections and responses to plaintiff's first request for admissions.
Yes.
And do you see the highlighted question that says you were at fault for causing, or sorry, strike that. You were at fault for the collision on January 5th, 2021.
Yeah, I see that.
And then do you see the response that says denied?
Yes.
Are these your responses?
Objection. Counsel, as you know, those responses are prepared by counsel. Those are legal contentions.
Are these your responses, sir?
It's vague and ambiguous and argumentative, this phrase.
Sir, are these your responses?
Same objections.
Sir, are these your responses?
The same objection. You can answer, sir. Sir, if you know. Do you know if those are your responses, Mr. Davis?
I think that was my response. Yes. What the cop said I was at fault.
He just answered the question. He's asking about this written document. Do you know if this document, the response that was prepared on your behalf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir, are these your
Yes.
responses?
Yes.
Are they true?
Objective form. I'm going to object that the interrogatory or the request for admissions are documents that are prepared and responses prepared by counsel on behalf of the witness. So the way you phrase it, is it true, seeks to invade the attorney-client privilege, and it's vague and ambiguous as phrased. You can answer the question. He's just asking, do you know if the responses are true?
Yes.
So, sir, is it true that you are denying fault for the collision?
Same objection, same instruction as before. That's a legal contention question. You can ask it as a request for admission or as a legal contention, but it's not appropriate to ask the witness that directly because it's the ultimate question for the jury and it seeks a legal contention.
Sir, Mr. Nelson, with all due respect, that is just not the law. That is an incorrect legal proposition that you're saying, and it's inappropriate for this deposition, and it's unethical to tell him not to respond to it.
Okay, well, we're not making any headway by you repeatedly asking the same question and saying you think my instruction is improper. We've pulled this road before. I'm
Sure.
willing to go before a judge and discuss it. And if you want to do that, let's do it. In the meantime, please move on.
Mr. Davis, are you going to take the advice of counsel and refuse to answer that question?
Yes.
Can you see plaintiff's exhibit 1 on your screen?
Yes.
Have you seen your case disposition that's marked as plaintiff's exhibit 1 before right now?
It's my first time seeing this.
Okay. Well, do you see the yellow highlighted text showing that you were charged with failure to yield turning left?
Yes.
Do you see the green highlighted text showing the issue date of January 5th, 2021?
Yes.
And that's the date of the subject wreck, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you see the red highlighted text showing that you forfeited bond and that you were convicted for failing to yield while turning left?
Objection, it's argumentative, lacks foundation. You can answer whether or not you see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Do you know what that means? What the red highlighted text means?
Speculation lacks foundation.
It's not speculation. I asked him if he knows what it means. You know
No.
what that text means, sir?
No.
Same objection.
Has anyone told you that you were convicted for failing to turn left? Or sorry, has anyone told you that you were convicted for failure to yield while turning left?
Objection, it seeks to invade the attorney-client privilege as phrased.
So let me rephrase the question. Has anyone other than your attorney told you that you were convicted for failing to yield while turning left?
No.
So I want to talk a little bit about the hiring process with VEO. When did you apply to work with VEO?
6 years ago.
And how did you find out about the position?
I went through a job training program through Goodwill, and they sent me to VEO.
Were you familiar with VEO before you had applied?
No.
Did you interview with anyone at VEO before you started working there?
Yes, Sean.
And what is Sean's last name?
Coleman.
Is Sean Coleman still an employee of VEO?
No.
How many times did you meet with Sean before you were hired?
Twice.
Did you meet with anyone other than Sean before you were hired?
No.
Did you undergo any pre-employment drug testing when you were hired?
No.
And I think you may have answered this, but for what position did VEO hire you?
Custodian.
And did your job description at that time include driving box trucks?
No.
Did VEO do anything to test your driving abilities before you drove box trucks on their behalf?
No.
Did VEO provide you with any on-the-job training related to driving box trucks?
And belated objection is argumentative and lacks foundation. As to the last question, I didn't get a chance to get my objection in before the witness answered.
I take a break. bathroom.
Mr. Davis has asked me to take a break, so we're gonna take a quick break.
That's fine. I would just ask that he answer the pending question and then we could, nope, Mr. Davis. There's a question pending. I have no problem taking a break, but I do request that he answer the question that's pending. Great. And just for the record, we can take a break, Mr. Davis, at any time that you want. But if there's a question pending, I've got to get an answer to that question before we take a break.
Okay.
So my question that was pending was, did VEO provide you with any on-the-job training related to driving trucks?
No,
Did VEO ever provide you with training materials related to driving trucks?
no,
And that before I forget, did you have any substantive conversation with Mr. Nelson from the time that I asked that last question through when we came back after the break?
It seeks to invade the attorney-client privilege. I'm instructed not to answer that question.
And sir, you will be taking the advice of counsel and refusing to answer that question?
yes,
Okay. Did you have to submit to a background check before starting work with VEO?
I can't recall.
Excuse me. After the wreck that brings us here today, did you submit to a post-collision drug test?
No,
Did anyone from VEO ask you to submit to a post-collision drug test?
no,
When VEO employees get into wrecks with company vehicles, does VEO usually ask its drivers to submit to post-collision drug tests?
Speculation lacks foundation.
If you know the answer to that question, you can respond, sir.
no,
Is that a no that you don't know, or no?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know.
After the wreck, did anyone ask you to submit to a post-collision alcohol test?
No,
And you did not take a post-collision alcohol test after this wreck?
no,
So I want to ask you about the communications that happened, at the time of the wreck and right after it. So with Lonnie Streeter, did he at any point try to warn you about the wreck before it happened?
no,
Did you have any conversations with Mr. Streeter immediately after the wreck?
we talked about we talked about the accident, about how it happened.
And what was the substance of that conversation?
He said he saw her coming, but I didn't see her coming from miles on the road. I didn't see her coming. He said she said the car couldn't hit us.
When did he say, at what point did Mr. Streeter say that car is going to hit us?
It wasn't him. It was the other guy, Logan.
At what point did Logan say that?
She said that right before she hit us.
What else did you and Mr. Streeter talk about immediately after the wreck, if anything?
We weren't talking about nothing about the wreck. We were just talking about basic conversation.
Do you remember the substance of that conversation?
Not that I recall. No.
Did you have any conversation with Mr. Streeter about how the wreck happened?
No,
And Mr. Streeter, the time of the wreck, he was also a VEO employee.
yes,
And just before the collision, did you have any conversation with Mr. Streeter?
no. Yeah, he told me to turn left.
That's right. Now Mr. Logan was also a VEO employee.
No,
He was not a VEO employee at the time of the wreck.
no.
What was Mr. Logan doing in the car?
He was helping us load the furniture on the truck. Help us load the furniture on the truck.
Is he just a friend of yours?
Yeah,
Was he being paid in any way for his services?
no, I was gonna buy him lunch to helping us.
So is Mr. Logan currently employed by VEO?
No,
Just before the collision, were you having any conversation with Mr. Logan?
no,
Did Mr. Logan ever try to warn you about the wreck before it happened?
no,
Did you have any conversations with Mr. Logan immediately after the wreck?
we talked about about is she all right? You know, we talked about she is it good she had a seatbelt on.
I'm sorry, will you repeat your response?
It's good she had a seatbelt on during the accident.
And how did you know that she had her seatbelt on?
I could see her seatbelt. I could see it wrapped around her shoulder when I got out the truck.
Did you speak with any police officers after the wreck?
Yes, the police officer that came there.
How many different police officers did you speak
There's
to?
just one police officer.
What did you speak about with the police officer?
He asked me for my license, rented my the insurance card for the truck.
Isn't it true that you told the responding officer that Miss Altman was not speeding?
I can't recall.
Can you see Plaintiff's Exhibit 15?
Yes,
Do you see the highlighted text that says V1 stated that V2 is not speeding?
yeah,
And then do you see on page 1 of Plaintiff's Exhibit 15, where it identifies you as the driver of V1?
yeah.
And so if the police report says that you
The police
stated,
said I was speeding. He said I was speeding. He said I was at fault.
who told you that you were at fault?
The police did.
Did he explain why you were at fault?
Because I was in the middle of the street when it happened.
Do you have any reason to dispute that you told that police officer that V2 is not speeding?
No,
Objection, it mischaracterizes the statement within the report.
So, sir, do you agree that you told the responding police officer that Miss Altman was not speeding?
Asked and answered.
Sir, do you agree that you told the responding police officer that Miss Altman was not speeding?
I might have said something like that, but I can't recall.
What was the basis of that statement?
Objection, mischaracterizes prior testimony, argumentative.
Join those objections.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm going to pull another exhibit up. If I can find it. Can you see the narrative portion of plaintiff's exhibit 15? I'm trying to zoom in for you. Ah, I'm so sorry. There we go. Do you see the orange highlighted text?
Yeah, I see it.
Objection asked and answered.
So do you agree that you stated that Miss Altman was not speeding?
Objection, argumentative, it mischaracterizes what's in the report, and the question's been asked and answered.
Join those objections.
Sir, do you have a response?
No,
You do not have a response.
no,
Do you have any reason to dispute the truth of the orange highlighted text?
Object to form, mischaracterizes what's stated in the text. It's argumentative, it's phrased, and the question's been asked and answered.
Let me ask you this way. Why did you say this to the police officer?
Objection lacks foundation, argumentative, mischaracterizes the contents of the document.
I certainly join those objections.
Do you have a response, sir?
no,
So you're going to refuse to answer the question?
yes,
Did you speak with any EMTs after the wreck?
the firearms. That's what I okay.
How many different firemen did you speak with?
Just one.
And what did you speak about?
He asked was I okay. That was it.
Okay. Did you speak with anyone from VEO immediately after the wreck?
You know, Lonnie called Tyler.
Is that Tyler Bowser?
Yeah,
When did you call Tyler Bowser?
I didn't call him. Lonnie did.
When did Lonnie call Tyler Bowser?
Right at the accident. Right after the accident. That's when he called him.
Did Tyler Bowser come out to the scene of the collision?
Yes,
How soon after the collision did he get out there?
about an hour because GPS was getting him to run around.
And were you
Everything got cleared up when he got there.
okay? Were you still at the scene of the collision when Mr. Bowser got out there?
Yes,
Tell me about the conversation, if any, that you had with Mr. Bowser.
He's talking about, is- is- yes, was all okay too. And let's get out of here. Let's go home.
Did Mr. Bowser ask you anything about how the wreck happened?
I can't recall.
What was Mr. Bowser's job title at that time?
He was our Lonnie's boss.
What was Lonnie's job title at that time?
Supervisor me. He's my supervisor.
Did you and Lonnie have any discussion before the wreck about who should drive the box truck?
No,
Did Mr. Bowser ask you any questions about who is at fault for the collision?
I can't recall.
Did you speak, when was the next time you spoke with someone from VEO about the wreck after speaking with Mr. Bowser?
When I got back to BEO,
And who did you speak with?
Stephanie.
What is Stephanie's last name?
I'm not for sure. I don't know.
What did you and Stephanie speak about?
She asked me what happened in the accident. What happened?
And what did you tell her?
I told her I had an accident.
Did she ask you anything about who is at fault for causing the accident?
No,
Did she ask you whether you got a citation for the accident?
yes,
What would you say to her after that?
I showed it to her.
And what did she say in response to you showing her the citation?
She said, you can't be getting too many of those. They'll suspend your license if you get too many of them.
What was your employment relationship with Stephanie?
She was in finance.
Was Stephanie in charge of investigating
No,
the wreck?
no.
Why did Stephanie ask you about what happened?
Speculation lacks foundation.
It's actually a legitimate objection. So let me rephrase the question. Or ask a different question. Did you come speak to Stephanie or did Stephanie come speak to you?
Stephanie kind of speak to me.
Was anyone else present during the conversation you had with Stephanie?
Tyler.
So other than you, Tyler, Bowser, and Stephanie, was anyone else around for that meeting?
No,
What did Tyler say, if anything, about the citation?
I can't recall.
Were you disciplined in any way for receiving the citation?
No, not really.
Well, when you say not really, was there any sort of disciplinary action taken?
No,
Were you given any warnings?
no,
Were you required to undergo any sort of job or driving testing?
no,
Were you given any training materials relating to driving safety?
no,
Did VEO do anything to make sure that you were a safe driver after the wreck?
Objective form lacks foundation.
You can answer that.
I'm gonna take my attorney's advice.
So your attorney objected to the question, but unless he instructs you not to answer a question, then you are required to give a response. So I'll ask the question again with that. Did VEO do anything to ensure that you were a safe driver after the wreck?
No.
Objection.
After at any time after the wreck, have you driven a box truck for VEO?
No.
So January 5th, 2021 was the last time that you drove a box truck for VEO.
That was the last time I drove any vehicle VEO.
Did VEO remove you from the driving position after the wreck?
Yes.
Objective form, argumentative, assumes facts.
Who told you that?
Who told me what?
Who told you that you were being removed from a driving position?
Lacks foundation, argumentative.
You can answer that question.
I can't recall.
Did anybody tell you that you were being removed from a position that involved driving?
Lonnie said I couldn't drive no more for VEO.
Lonnie said that?
Yeah, he said I couldn't drive no more.
When did Lonnie tell you that you could no longer drive for VEO?
Right after the accident.
Was it at the scene of the accident that he told you that?
No.
Was it back at the office that he told you that?
Yes. Yes.
What exactly did he say to you?
He said Tyler told him that I couldn't drive no more and get all the keys and stuff from the vehicles. Turn all the keys for the vehicles that I had.
Do you have any understanding why?
Because of the accident.
Okay.
Speculation lacks foundation.
To your knowledge, did VEO do anything to investigate this wreck?
Not that I can recall.
Did VEO interview you after the wreck? And that, I guess, let me preface that by saying, excluding your conversation with Tyler Bowser and Stephanie, did VEO interview you at all after the wreck?
No.
So other than your conversations with Lonnie, Stephanie, and Tyler Bowser, you spoke with no one else from VEO about the wreck.
Right.
Are you relying on the opinion of any expert or engineer to support your claim that the roadway was negligently designed?
Object, seeks a legal contention. I'm instructed not to answer.
Are you going to take the advice of your counsel?
Yes.
Also seeks to invade the attorney-client privilege.
Do you think that there is any problem with the roadway where the collision occurred?
Objection, seeks a legal contention, seeks to evade the attorney-client privilege. I'm instructed not to answer.
I'm asking him about the factual basis of the legal position that he's taken in the case of course I can do that. Sir, do you have any factual basis for the position that there's something wrong with the roadway? And you should not be looking at your attorney for a response.
I'm not looking at him.
Do you have any factual basis for the position that there was something wrong with the roadway?
The question's been asked and answered.
It has not been. It has not been answered a single time.
It seeks to invade the attorney-client privilege.
I'm asking for the factual basis of something that he has said in this litigation. There's under no interpretation of the attorney-client privilege or work product doctrine is that privileged. That is.
Do me a favor and don't-
Hold on a second. This is Mike Johnson on behalf of the insurance company. I join the objection that the position with regard to an expert opinion regarding status of the road or whether it is or is not causative as to this accident, as I understand it, is an expert opinion matter, which is left to those that are qualified as experts to opine on. I don't believe you laid the foundation that this gentleman is an expert in those types of matters, and subject to that objection, that would not have the status or knowledge to form an opinion or state as to facts as to that expert opinion. So I join that objection.
And I object to your objection, which is coaching the witness to say that he doesn't know an answer. That is improper and unethical. And we will be raising that issue with the court, Mr. Johnson.
That was by no means a coaching, because anyway.
Mr.
Yeah,
Davis.
you go to that default position, which I don't understand as counsel taking a deposition.
Mr.
But I
Davis.
wanted to make clear my objection on the record so it wasn't confusing to the court.
Mr. Davis, I'm asking you if you have any factual basis for the position that there was something wrong with the roadway.
Same objection.
And asked and answered with the same objections.
Sir, are you going to refuse to answer that question?
Yes.
Did you do anything to prepare for your deposition today?
No.
Have you reviewed any documents before today's deposition?
I haven't seen any documents.
No, I don't want to know anything that you and your lawyer spoke about, but did you meet with your lawyer to get ready for the deposition today?
No.
All right. Let's go off the record. Let me look over my notes and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Let's say 12:05.
Hey, Matt, before we jump off the record from just a timing situation, help me with what's next after this deposition.
So my understanding is that Lonnie Streeter is up next.
And is Lonnie Streeter available or has he been located? What's the status on that?
Lonnie Streeter's here. It's
Okay.
Mr. Logan that's not available.
Okay, and with regard to Mr. Streeter, are we taking a break in between this or are we just going straight through?
So this deposition has taken a little longer than anticipated because of the technical difficulties and then the legal issues with the questioning. So I'm fine with going straight through for the convenience of the witnesses and the lawyers, but I defer to y'all.
For me, I've got a client who's been trying to reach me about a matter, and I said we probably will take a lunch break. So I said, if you could try and get hold of me during the lunch break. So I'd kind of prefer to take at least a lunch break. I don't know if the court reporter is prepared to go straight through and everybody else. But anyway, for me, and of course I default to the majority, but I would appreciate a lunch break to see if I could answer this client's question during the lunch break.
Mr. Nelson, I defer to you. It's your witness's time.
Yeah, I'm okay with a break. I'd rather keep it kind of short so we can wrap this up. If you don't mind, Mike, is 30 minutes enough?
Well, again, I do want to do what the majority wants. So Matt, you want to continue. Alfie, if you and your client want to continue, I'll just email the client and tell them to push back the call to sometime later. Matt, do you got any idea approximately when you think we might be done?
I don't anticipate the next one being very long. I also didn't anticipate this one being this long though, so I can't make any promises.
All right, I'll just tell the client we're pushing it back. and we'll just go on through with this.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Ms. Cochran?
Yes, I'd like 5 minutes between them, but
Okay.
okay, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Okay, so let's come back then at 12:05 or 12:06. This will likely be the conclusion. I just want to have a minute to look at my notes, and then
I may have a couple of brief follow-up questions.
okay, all right. All right, well, let's come back at 12:06.
All right.
All right. So I don't have any more questions at this time, but there are a number of things that that we're gonna have to take up with the court, and so I guess we will suspend the deposition, or subject to any follow-up questions from Mr. Nelson and Mr. Johnson. We will suspend the deposition and resume if necessary based on how the court rules on the issues that remain outstanding.
That's agreeable. I think we've done this before, and I just request if you intend to bring this to the court's attention, that you do it sooner rather than later so we can resolve the issue and not have it something, that's outstanding for us to resolve as we get closer to trial.
Sure.
I don't be trying to, complete depositions with additional questions if the judge agrees with you. So let me just follow up briefly with Mr. Davis. Just continue looking at the camera so that, because they want to be able to see you. So Mr. Davis, during your testimony, you testified that you looked to the left and to the right before you pulled forward into the intersection. When you did that, were you at a place on the roadway surface that allowed you to see along the road?
Objection, leading, vague.
Let me withdraw the question and rephrase it. When you looked to the left before you entered the roadway, what did you see? How far down could you see?
Objection, compound, vague.
You can answer, sir. Yes, I'm asking you, how far could you see when you looked to your left before you pulled forward?
Before I pull up, I can see nothing down the street, down the hall, down the street.
Before you pulled forward?
Before I pull forward.
Okay. When you pulled forward, did you pull forward and go straight into the road, or did you pull forward far enough to look and see?
I pulled forward.
Objection, leading, compound, vague.
You can answer, sir.
I stopped at a stop sign. I pulled up on the street and looked down the street. When nothing coming to the left, when nothing coming to the right.
Okay. So when you testified earlier, Mr. Khan asked you whether you ever saw the other car before it hit you. Did you ever see that car before it hit you?
I saw after Logan.
Objection, leading.
You can answer.
After Logan said that car finna hit us, then I saw the car. Logan said the car finna hit us. Then I tried to get out the car way. I accelerated again, tried to get out of the way, but it was too late for me to do that. And she hit the side of the truck.
So when you looked and left and right, did you see the car?
After Logan said she'd been hit, then that's when I seen the car.
Okay.
Objection, leading.
All right. Did you come to a complete stop at some point before you went forward into the road?
Yes.
Objection, leading.
When you were at a complete stop and looked to your left, did you see any car approaching?
No.
Objection, leading. Mr. Davis, you've got to give me an opportunity to object before you respond.
Okay.
All right. That's all I had to follow up on.
Mr. Davis, this is Mike Johnson. I think I have just one or two questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you were shown a picture of a stop sign and a road intersection. You remember that picture?
Yes.
Objection leading.
Asking him whether he remembered the picture is leading, Mr. Cohen?
Giving all of that preface is leading.
Okay. So when you said that you look to the left, and I'm now just talking about the road and distance on the road. If you look to the left, do you have any present recollection of how far the road went to your left before this hill area that you mentioned in your testimony?
Objection leading vague.
I can answer it.
Yes, sir.
I stopped at a stop sign and back stop. And I pulled out in the street where I could see down the street. But it's a blind side coming over that hill.
Okay. How far, how many feet would you say it is down the street to the blind side? Do you have a rough estimate? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 feet?
Objective
No.
form.
I don't really know the feet, the number of the feet down the street.
Okay.
But I couldn't see nothing coming over the hill.
Okay. So at the time that you couldn't see anything coming over the hill, was that when you were at the stop and before you came out or after you came out?
That was at the stop.
Objection leading compound question calls for speculation. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That was at the stop. I couldn't see nothing. When I didn't see nothing, that's when I pulled out of the street.
Okay.
When I didn't see nothing coming.
All right. In your testimony earlier, could you remind me, where do you think the car, as it was coming down the street, hit you? What part of the truck do you recall her hitting you at?
It hit the hydraulic system on the truck.
And where is that located?
On the bottom of the truck.
Okay. Is it behind your driver seat area or further down the truck?
Objection leading
Yeah,
compound
I think it is. Yeah. I'm not quite sure where it's at on the truck, but that's what it is.
You were asked by Mr. Khan, once you were out in the road, did you apply your brakes? Do you remember that question?
Yes.
Do you think if the car, the plaintiff's car was heading toward you, that it would have helped or made worse the situation to stop in the road?
Objection vague calls for speculation. Compound.
You can answer the question.
It would have helped out to stop.
In the road?
But why stop when it wasn't coming?
No, I'm saying once she was coming and you had an opportunity, I think you just said a few seconds ago, you were told that a woman or the car was about to hit you. Do you think if you had immediately stopped at that time, it would have helped the situation or made it worse to stop then?
It would have made it worse.
Objection leading calls for speculation. It's really just inappropriate to be feeding the answer that you want in these questions. That's why I'm objecting on all of them based on leading.
You can go ahead and answer the question, sir.
It was too late to stop because she was coming over the hill too fast.
Okay, but my question is, which of these two do you believe is correct? It would have helped to stop once you saw her, or it would have made it worse to stop once you saw her?
Objection.
It made it worse.
Hold on, Mr. Davis. Objection leading opinion testimony calls for speculation.
Okay, again, you can answer the question. Okay, go ahead and answer the question. Which one?
Same objections.
It'd have been worse to stop. It would have made the situation worse if I'd stopped. Because she was already in the road and already in the road to hit me.
Those are the only questions I have at this time. Thank you.
I have no further questions, but do stand by the same position. We'll resume the deposition to the extent the court deems necessary after filing a motion and that briefing the issue. Thank you for your time, Mr. Davis.
You're welcome.